Welcome everybody to another edition of GIS Peer Success Webinar. I am your host, Toby Soto. I am the blogger, vlogger, and community developer of GISsuccess.com. And I'm also the owner now of Soto Media, which is a GIS consulting firm. So, you know, we have an action-packed webinar today, and it's about GIS leadership taking action to make impact. And so we got a lot of great leaders here to help you know, give you some tidbits and advice and impact that they made through action taking moments. And it's going to be great. This is something that we've been waiting for a long time, to bring this kind of information to you. And real quick, I want to go around and do some introductions, and then we'll get into some announcements, and then we'll jump right in. So why don't you go ahead and hit it there, Wade?
Okay, well, welcome everybody. My name is Wade Kloos. I am the Director of Enterprise Systems at the Department of Natural Resources.
Tim?
That's it for me.
Yeah, hi, Tim Nolan. I'm at Collin County, Texas, just north of Dallas, and my current mission is to my title is IT Applications Manager. So I've got GIS as part of my group, and so my current mission is to spread GIS throughout the county and IT, and then kind of embed that in many applications as we develop them.
Awesome. All right, Trisha, you're up.
All right. Good afternoon. I'm Trisha Brush, and I'm with Link GIS and Planning and Development Services of Kenton County. We are just across the river from the city of Cincinnati, and so we're in northern Kentucky. Been here for about 16 years. The biggest thing we've been working on are Northern Kentucky Map Lab and Northern Kentucky Drone Lab, and you may hear a little bit more about those in this meeting, this webinar. Thanks.
Awesome. Brandi, you're new to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm Brandi Rank. I'm the GIS manager for the city of Thornton. It's in Colorado. It's a city just north of Denver. I've been here for about 9 months. So some of what I'm talking about today will definitely be the new kid on the block, the new leader, getting people to trust you, motivated, those kind of things. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Rita, welcome back.
Thank you. My name is Rita Taylor. I work for the County of Gloucester. In Virginia, we're on the Chesapeake Bay, and I guess I've been here 100 years plus one now. So I've recently been promoted to GIS manager from GIS coordinator, and I'm pretty excited about that. All due to the GIS Peer Success Webinar,
Wow.
actually.
Look at that.
Congratulations.
I'm a believer.
Yay. Proof is in the pudding, right?
That's right.
Kurt.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kurt Towler, and I'm an electric utilities professional in Southern Arizona. I work for Sulphur Valley Electric Cooperative, and I'm also the host of the Speaking of GIS podcast. And I've had the pleasure of interviewing 4 of the other panelists here today, and I want to talk a little bit about lessons that I've taken from each of them and applied to my work and how it's changed my life.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. So quickly, guess what, everybody? We have a sponsor to the show. Can you believe it? I know. Can you believe that? You know who that sponsor is?
Your company.
It's me.
Soto Media. Yeah.
Because you know what it is? And yeah, I did a little blog earlier this morning, or vlog, and there's a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of nervousness around this, but I just rolled out the online course of how to take your GIS team from good to great. So it is finally up. It's finally open. It only took me 6 months. Took a little kick in the pants and little detours to get there, but it's finally open. It's finally there. So, you know, if you're looking to do more with less, which is a topic that we've talked about here plenty of times, if you're having trouble keeping up with advanced technology in GIS, and you're also having to field out a lot of citizen-based services and just kind of feel overwhelmed, then this course is for you. So we're going to talk about 7 different modules in the course. It's a 5-week course, And we're going to talk about mindset and commitment. We're going to talk about trust and relationship. We're going to talk about staff assessment, skills assessment, the GIS roadmap, making sure that your GIS is tracking in the direction that it should be going. And then the secret sauce is bringing that together as far as developing a staff development training plan to help go in line with that GIS roadmap. And then we're going to talk about monitoring, and then we'll talk about recognition, giving the praise where praise is due and keep that motivation going. So it's a 5-week course. It's half price right now because it is a beta course, and it's a culmination of all the information we've talked about on gissuccess.com and on LinkedIn, on GIS Peer Success Webinars. And I ran this information across a lot of the professionals that you see right here on your screen, and they said, this is great. You're on track, and you need to get this out to the public. You need to put this together. So I feel very good about that, and feel very reassured. And so I'm ready to get it out to you. So if you go to https://Toby, that's TOBY -s-school.thinkific.com. And I'll also have that in the show notes for you. You'll get more information, and you can purchase the course there. And with the beta course, you're going to help define the course. You're going to get more one-on-one with me. You're going to be able to make it the way that you want to learn and what works for you. And so getting all that feedback, having these one-on-ones, will be able to revamp the course and make it even better for everybody else. So you'll be a founding member, and you'll definitely have a lot of one-on-one with me, whereas the next courses that come out from this, there'll be less one-on-one because it'll be more fine-tuned. But the one-on-one is going to be extremely helpful for you. So anyways, that's it for the sponsor of the show. The other thing I want to quickly announce. Oh yeah, there we go. It's our 1-year anniversary GIS Peer Success Webinar. So everybody, I want you to blow. All ready? On 1, 2, 3. Okay, ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. You guys didn't blow hard enough. Come on. I'll put it closer. Oh, Wade's got to wet his whistle for this one. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Very good.
Nice.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it. Without all your support, we wouldn't be here today. And special thanks to Wade. Special thanks to Tim. You guys have been through the ride this whole time, giving me that support, that love, and that motivation to just kind of to keep going. So let's get into it. Let's talk about taking action. We're all here. We're all leaders. We've gotten to this point because we have taken action. And so who would like to start first? Who wants to go?
Let's make Brandi go first.
Yeah, Brandi.
I thought I liked you, Wade.
You're the newbie.
And just real quick, before we hop into Brandi, for those of you that are participating and watching online, if you have a taking action moment that you would like to share, raise your hand through the chat mechanism, and we will bring you up, and you can mic in your taking action moment. So we're trying to bring in some participation through that avenue as well. So anyways, hit it, Brandi.
Okay, so when I was trying to think about what I was going to talk about today, I had a lot of ideas, and I was trying to think of a really cool project to wow everyone. And then I decided to scrap all that and start really more basic. Of course, I have notes, so I'm going to be looking at them, and I think all leaders have notes, and we study, and we don't just show up and be amazing. We have to work at it, so everyone should remember that. So, I wanted to just say, I'm going to look down, and you know why now, just to call myself out on that. Because taking action, you need, I think, about 4 different topics to think about. And then I'm going to go over those really quick for me, how they work, and then tell you a really, really brief story. So first is really easy. It's be a leader. And you don't have to have a position. You don't have to be in a certain place in an organization. Be a leader. Be someone who has an idea. Help others around you. You know, work on having that influence that you need to get work done. There are different things that leaders do. You are going to have team building exercises. You're going to have a roadmap that you're setting out for people. You're going to, you know, just have an overall message of where everyone should be going. You're going to coach people, help people see the best that they can be. And that's what being a leader is. It's not I'm a GIS manager. I've met managers, I've met directors even that weren't leaders. So be one. Strive for excellence and demand excellence from everyone around you. Lift everyone up. So that's my number one. Don't be someone who sits on a chair. Be amazing and expect everyone else around you to be amazing and help people be amazing. Show them they're already amazing. The next topic would probably be to be thoughtful. So like I said, I write things down. Everybody kind of plans differently. Learn the business of your customer. So I've been working in local government for supporting planning and code enforcement and inspectors and building and engineering and all those different sort of customers. And I still know that I don't know their business, and I can't provide tools, and I can't provide any support to people if I don't know what their business is. So humble yourself and get in the room, learn what they do. Don't wait for them to ask you to be in the room, because they probably won't. So find out when they have team meetings, ask if you can go ahead and attend and be a part of that. The best way to learn is to listen. Think about, also with being thoughtful, is think about your role in an organization. Think about, you know, I'll call the C-suite level, kind of the executive leadership. What do they care about? Because the GIS team, we can sit around and be geeks and talk about technology all day long, but there isn't a single person in executive leadership that wants to hear any of that. So be thoughtful about what you tell people. You know, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen incredibly technically competent people get the brush off from leadership. You can just see them going, oh my gosh, and then the phones come out and they're like, when is this person going to leave? And that person doesn't get questions. So they might think, oh, I was really thorough and everyone understood what I said. No, you bored them. They were done with you. Get out of the room. So be really mindful that their time is more important than yours. Be bright, be brief, and be gone. Think like the public, right? They don't care how cool it is. They don't care how many hours you spent coding. Is it easy to use? And do they want to come back to it again? If they don't say yes to both of those, you haven't done your job. I would say my next bullet is be a risk taker. I'm not saying you have to be reckless, but you do have to take risks. If you're not a risk taker, then you need to look to someone else on your team who is, and you need to let them take risks, right? Calculated risks, but you have to let them go. You have to let them try. It's super scary, and I would say, you know, as a leader, I do believe it is actually your responsibility to get people out of their comfort zones and, you know, support them, show them, I'm not just going to throw you and let you go. I'm here to support you, but we're going to try something new today. And what I see is that the first time it might be scary, but once you get a couple wins under your belt, and once you get that trust from other people, including your team, the next one's easier, and the next one's easier, and it just keep that momentum going. Fourth, and then I'll tell my story, be proactive. My goal, which I will probably never achieve, is that my customers will never come to me and ask me for something that I didn't already know they needed or I wasn't already working on. You know, I want to understand their business, have relationships with them, and see, you know, hear when they say that something, they're struggling with something, I want to pick up on that and then deploy the technology to them. If they've come to me, it might be too late. They might be upset. They might come to me specifically, well, Brandi, this city did it this way, so this is exactly what I want, rather than here's a problem, can you help us find a solution? And so now I'm, maybe forced into doing something that isn't the best solution for them, or, I've allowed my voice to be cut off by not showing them that this is my profession, I know what you need, let's try some things for you. So my story, as I mentioned, I've been with the city for about 9 months. My previous place I'd been with for 14 years. So I already had all the relationships. I already knew the systems. That was really, really sort of easy. And so coming to the city, I didn't know anyone. They didn't know who I was. I was ready to jump, and just run. And you can't do that. You have to take people with you, right? And there's business that has to happen and everyday work that still needs to happen. So what I found out, and for those of you that don't know, this is a shameless plug for a story map that my team created. There's a dinosaur found in the city a little over a year ago. And when I got here, I said, we have a dinosaur and we don't have a story map? Like, this is silly, like insane. So we worked with communications. They had written all these wonderful, all these words, these articles. They had taken these beautiful pictures. One of my team members specifically said, I want to learn more ArcGIS online. I'm kind of, stuck in this workflow that I'm doing. So I thought and she's a geologist. Perfect, everything's coming together. So she worked on a story map. And I think a lot of people are thinking, well, that's silly. That's easy. From a technical perspective, that's easy. And I think you're right. And I think a lot of people would say, well, who cares about a dinosaur? That didn't help your employees achieve a goal or move, towards the mayor or the city manager's, achievable goals that they have for the city. And I would argue that we did do all that because people care about dinosaurs. Whether you're 4 or whether you're 65, everybody cares about dinosaurs. So we showed people, and they said, oh, GIS people did that, So now they can come to us, and now we've kind of opened that bridge and that communication, kind of got people in their imagination and got people in that child wonder. And now we're known, okay, GIS is more than making a map. And so don't ask permission, ask for forgiveness, do the work, demonstrate it, tell a story, and you're in. You got it.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandi, for sharing that. Yeah. That's a great way, you're selling your GIS is by utilizing a main topic, a hot topic that's happening in your community, and so you're just like flexing the muscle of GIS on that topic, and it just gives you even just more exposure to your program. Really good.
Yep.
Really good.
I mean, what mayor in the US isn't totally jealous that the mayor here has a dinosaur?
Exactly. And they're not being called the dinosaur, right?
Right. No, it's a real. Check it out on our website.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandi. Hey, real quick, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. So any participants that want to have any type of question posted, they can do it through that, and also through the chat. But make sure it's set to everyone so that everybody can see your question. So, all right, let's move on. Trisha, you got a great story. How about you?
All right. I always feel like everybody already knows the story, but it is our story, and I'm happy to tell it. Several years ago, when the economy tanked, everybody remembers that, right? We got called out on GIS being bells and whistles, and we literally had to sit like at night meetings, night after night, across the table from elected officials that were calling us bells and whistles. They're like, we don't understand why aerial photography costs so much. Why do you need it? What do you use it for. And there was actually, it was not me, I admit, but there was one of my team members dropped an F-bomb because someone couldn't understand why we needed aerial photography, and we explained it 6 times. It was very heated, and there was a lot of press actually coming out that was not true. And so here you have a team. I have a team of 8, and we're trying to do our work, and you're trying to keep them focused. But how do you lead in a time of crisis? And that's what I was trying to do, is how do I lead? The first thing we did is I said, look, you have to look at the facts. If it's not a fact, then you need to ignore it, and we need to move on. But it took a lot, and it drained us. It drained me. And once we made it out the other end, and I realized I had to reinvent myself to lead them all out of that at this point. And as I said yesterday, and Tim said, you have to say this, is when you go through something and you go in a piece of coal, you come out a diamond because there's heat and pressure. And that's what we were under. It was a lot of heat and pressure. We were called on the carpet. And the honest to goodness truth is they had every reason. They had, it was, I mean, they could have been asking us this for 10 years, but it was at that time. And thankfully, I feel like I was able to lead them out of that. And that was the birth or the launch of Northern Kentucky Map Lab and Northern Kentucky Drone Lab. We're getting ready to spin up Northern Kentucky Dev Lab, just really taking things to the next level for us. Making data, big data, what everybody calls big data, shareable, visually pleasing, and doing the analysis on it. Watersheds, landslides, aerial photography. I mean, stuff that's just kind of what everybody as in GIS might think of everyday things. But who in a citizen world goes, oh, I know what a watershed is. I know what watershed I'm in. I know how many parks are in that watershed. And we're just breaking it down and making it easy for them to understand and teaching them about the data and the power that it has.
So going back to taking action, you kind of had to do like a self-assessment, because you're saying, you needed to push yourself as a leader to move into this next arena. What were you thinking, that you knew you had to do something, to bring GIS, to the forefront and be a benefit rather than a burden? What was that action that you were telling yourself that you needed to do?
So what I realized is everyone was exhausted, including me. I was even exhausted. And I thought, do I have the capabilities and do I have the know-how how to lead my team out of this? And in all honesty, I went back to school. I went to Xavier University, and they had a public sector leadership certificate. And I said, I'm going to go do this. And it sounds like it was for me, but what it was is it separated me, and it gave me kind of some other people to talk to about how do I lead my team out of this. Mm-hmm. So I went back to school, to be honest, and it worked, and it pulled me out, and I was able to pull my team up and get us on the right track, and now it's full steam ahead.
Awesome. That's what we're talking about. Cool. All right, Rita, you're on mute. There you go.
I'm challenged, computer challenged, unfortunate. I don't really know where to start, I guess, on our story. Do you want us just to take off from what our dilemma was last year and what we did, or just our, what our deal is?
Probably from your dilemma to where it made you take action.
So last year about this time, we had just moved to this enterprise GIS, and we only had 2.5 people, so 2 full-time, 1 part-time, and we were just barely scratching the surface of what GIS could do in our county. And it was hard to get buy-in because we didn't have enough staff to really do a lot of turnaround in a quick fashion. So it was kind kind of a tough go. So what we did about it was we met with individual departments on a one-on-one basis to learn what they were doing, just like Brandi said, getting in there, understanding what they do and how we could potentially help them. And once we started doing that, we started getting buy-in from lots of departments. They just don't have any idea what GIS can do. And anyway, in the process of all that, I ended up speaking with the county administrator, and I got promoted to GIS manager, and now we're working on potentially getting another body in here to help. So that all kind of came out of last year's webinar, hosting GIS Day and really showcasing other people's projects that, you know, maybe we could pick up on, or ArcGIS Online, things like that. So that's kind of our story.
Yeah. So you took action to bring GIS to the forefront, to kind of advertise its power. And
Right.
that got the electeds or the executives' attention.
Yeah, actually, too, we just got a new deputy county administrator. So, and I answer to him actually, and he comes from a very GIS-rich place, and he is, I mean, he's such an advocate for it. I'm so excited to be working for him because he really sings the praises. He's seen all the things that can do. He comes from a larger city that's fairly local, and like I said, we barely scratched the surface of what can be done. So I'm hoping he's going to bring in funding for me and help me get at least one more full-time person. And also just trying to, or explaining to others how beneficial it was, because our county administrator, while he sees the benefit in some things, because he doesn't really get it, I guess, he feels like it could potentially be a waste of time if we go down a path and it doesn't necessarily, I guess he said, just because we can do it doesn't mean we should do it, which I think is crazy talk. But I think every department can benefit from GIS, and having our new deputy county administrator be on board the way he is he kind of can bridge that gap for me with our county administrator. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, having that executive leadership support is half the battle, because if they don't get it and you're trying to get funding, or you're trying to move your program forward and they don't understand it, they're not going to support it. So that's great. That's great news. I'm glad to hear that so much progression is happening there for you.
Thanks.
Kurt, you're up, man.
Well, I've had the honor of talking with Toby and Trisha and Tim and Wade on the podcast, and we had pretty intense conversations about their work. And I really took a lot of information in, but I want to highlight just a couple things that really worked for me personally and for my organization. Toby, you and I talked about how to build an executive team that recognizes GIS needs, and building a guidance committee and getting them to understand the issues, the day-to-day issues, as well as the long-term planning issues. And that conversation led me to change how I think about talking to management. And we're a different kind of organization, but this year we're going to be doing an enterprise technology plan, and GIS is a huge part of that. And we're also going to be documenting all of our workflows, manual and automated. If they don't know you do it and it's not documented, they're never going to know it. They're never going to believe you. And by including them in the conversation and making them problem solvers, they are more likely to want to work with us, which is amazing, right? So from there, we'll talk about the amazing Trisha Brush for a moment. She talked to me about how in those moments of crisis that she was in, she started on a program of celebrating their project success with posters and getting the word out, messaging. you can message across the organization 7 times, 7 different ways, and we have 8 different locations. So that's a lot of messaging that we have to do to a lot of different people. So anytime you get a real chance, you need to grab onto that opportunity. Last month, I gave a presentation on mobile apps and what the future of mobile mapping is. And yes, I talked about maps and not GIS. I talked about the information they're going to be able to get to in the field through something like ArcGIS Online. It's early days for this work, but it's really important to spread the message of this is what the future has an opportunity to give us. And there's success with that. So thanks, Trisha. Really appreciate cluing me into that. Tim, something you said to me changed how I approach every day of my job. We talked about lean coffee and using Post-it notes and doing the little meeting method of voting on topics. Yep, we're not a strong meeting culture, so I didn't need to introduce that. But in my Google searches for that, I came across a Kanban board for daily tasks, and that has completely changed how I do my work. I encourage everyone to have something. A lot of people do lists and tasks and things like that. But when you put it in swim lanes and everyone that comes calls, I bring out the Post-it note, I write it on, I tack it on the board, and then in the morning I come in and I know what I have to do. I know that there is work to be done, and when I'm done with it, I physically move it over. And I can demonstrate success every single day by looking at the done pile on the right side of the board. Yep. So thanks, Tim. It really changed how I look at the job, even if we didn't talk about that directly. And the last one was Wade, and we're two ideas here. We had a conversation, an episode I titled, "What's Your Job Title?" And that wasn't really the point of the conversation, that was the hook. To think about a conversation about, HR gives us job titles for GIS, but it's really not about GIS. It's about the value that one provides to the organization and being recognized. If you want to be recognized for the value, then don't get hung up on job titles or your software descriptions that you use, anything like that. And it really made me question about how my work impacts the organization. And making sure that these values, I'm aligned with the values of what the organization is asking me to do. One job title I came up with was Chief Money Saver, because I believe these efficiencies are saving money, but I have to be able to demonstrate that. And so Wade, in another conversation at the Esri User Conference, presentation he gave was an amazing presentation, but he used our narrative story to translate it into a return on investment calculation. And on a follow-up, we launched a mobile app last month. We did a follow-up report on the project, and in that report, we documented the return on investment. And it took a little digging to figure it out, but we figured out this one mobile app using Survey 123 to collect data in the field was gonna save us $20,000 a year in labor savings for one person. A one-person app saves $20,000 a year in time. So it's a huge opportunity, but by documenting it and proving it, we are aligning ourselves with the value of the organization. So because of previous conversations with the executive team, I know that the CEO loves to hear about efficiencies, and using a return on investment calculator from Wade got me the tools to document and demonstrate that value that GIS provides. We all know intrinsically what it is. Documenting that extrinsically, making sure that that really communicates that you know what the organization is about and how you can help the organization. And the fifth one, just real briefly, is about personal leadership. Life equals work. We put a lot of value on how we spend our free time, how we love our family and friends, how we spend our vacation time. That kind of commitment to our professional life is about how we become personal leaders to those people around us. I think Brandi did a great job talking about that, so I don't want to go too far into that. But behind me is a picture of this moth, sorry, over here, this shoulder, and that moth was once a caterpillar. And it's our jobs as human beings to grow. And as we become these beautiful creatures in our professional lives, then we have a chance to be the leaders for those around us. And that will mean when we are in those positions, those people will come to us for help. They will look to us for solutions to their problems. They will engage with us, and they will show their honesty and respect and love and all that kind of stuff. So that's those are my words for today. So thanks everybody for your help.
Awesome, thank you. Who do we make the check out to?
I should pay you guys.
No, that's very kind words. You know, that just gives affirmation that, you know, what we're doing here is making a difference. You know, and if it makes a difference with one person, there's probably, you know, other people like you that maybe aren't on chat or aren't, you know, visibly seen, but are having to get that experience and make a difference as well in their organization. So that's great to hear. Thank you for sharing, Kurt. Tim.
Just to plug the ROI, just so everyone knows, I use Wade's spreadsheet, and I also got money in a budget season where budget said, you're not getting more money, we're actually taking money away from you. And I was one of the only divisions in my department that got money because I use the ROI. Thanks, Wade.
Nice.
Sweet. All right, Tim.
Yeah, hey, I'm just going to respond to a lot of the chatter in the chat box about kind of including or getting with your C-level or your management. I'm kind of management now, have been for a while. And I've really taken an approach, or our team has kind of taken an approach where we're not GIS anymore, right? We're, you know, like Kurt was talking about new titles, we're solutionists. Have a cape. Meaning that when we go have these advocate meetings with these departments, we find out what it is that they want, right? What's your vision? This is something Adam Carnell would talk about. What's your vision and what's your pain points? And that solution may be a GIS solution. It may not be, right? I have the app dev team. I have a lot of folks that can provide whatever that solution is. So, and I think it really helps when you don't approach this as, well, our GIS can do this and our app dev can, it kind of confuses your audience. You just go, what do you want, right? What is your vision? What are the things that you want done? You know, we had a big talk about our prosecutor or head prosecutor, or district attorney wanted a dashboard. They're like, great. What do you want on the dash? I don't know. I just want a dashboard, right? So that's kind of the audience you start with. And then you kind of dig through. Oh, well, I want to know where most of my cases come from. What agencies, what cities? Okay, well, maybe there's a GIS aspect here. I also want to know this kind of report. Well, that may not be GIS at all, but you don't have to separate, that, all right, I'll have my GIS group come in and talk here, and I'll have we can just collectively gather all this information, come back and provide the solution. So I think a lot of the chatter that we're seeing is, how do you engage your management and your other folks? You go have coffee, things like this. Really, I think is approach this. I think it was Adam that said this at the Esri UC. What is your vision, and what's your pain point, and see if GIS can deliver. And I'll just end it there. That sounded like a nice soundbite.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Tim. Looks like someone already put the Slack group link in there. People are asking about the ROI spreadsheet. And so in the chat, there's a link to join our Slack group, which has the ROI spreadsheet in there. So, all right, Wade, you're up.
Okay. Well, I was inspired to take action from two things. One was actually a peer success webinar, and it wasn't mine. So it was the one on what goes in a GIS strategic plan by Matthew Lewin. And I really got a lot out of that session in thinking about it. The other thing that inspired me to move me towards the goal of creating a strategic plan for our organization was the Esri UC. And I don't suspect I'm the only one who leaves that conference going, oh my God, there's so much more I could be doing, I should be doing, and feeling a little bit overwhelmed and humbled by the great work that folks promote out at the UC. And so, and obviously kind of some of the technology switches, changes that are coming. We've yet to adopt a necessarily the Esri's latest and greatest ArcGIS Enterprise, but we know it's coming. And so I felt it was really time to create that baseline of what it is we do, check that alignment for our division and our department priorities and goals, that now is the time to be doing that. One thing that registered with me pretty well, especially since my days from Esri, was the GIS patterns of use. And a while back ago, I shared, if you watch that webinar, in our conversation after Matthew's presentation, I present a version of that patterns of use as a spreadsheet. And this really allows you to see, perhaps for the very first time, all the workflows that GIS is involved with. And you can see it, one organization across the board, you can see where your GIS projects are. And that's really an opportunity for, managers of programs, business unit managers, to say, yeah, I really want something where there is nothing now. And it's just a great alignment tool. So I see my challenge in writing a strategic plan is actually not writing it. And I know that sounds a little funny, but I've got GIS managers in each of our 7 divisions, and I really want them to write it. I just need to facilitate it so that they can enter in and do their own assessment, so that they can identify where their program is, where they want to go, and ultimately what they want to focus on into the future. And hopefully that's a time in which they bring in their management and they review and agree with that particular GIS direction. I think that that's a pretty good opportunity. And of course, if possible, it would be wonderful if our business unit managements could define the mandate for GIS. So in other words, describe that expectation that they have, not only for the GIS program, but for their lines of business to adopt and accept and expect GIS-oriented workflows. So that's my aspiration in a strategic plan. Hopefully that will happen. But here's the other thing about a strategic plan that I think is important, and that is it needs to identify and define a problem. I think that a plan that doesn't have a clear organizational purpose are just destined to wind up being on the shelf and never looked at again. So I'm really striving to create the shortest plan possible that addresses the most relevant problems of our organization. So as Matt states in his presentation, this is really about clarifying value of and identifying your business values first and foremost. And that's really what ultimately drives your GIS program. So that's the discovery that I'm looking to do. So here's my second action point. I think that GIS management is really about behavior modification. Let's see the map. Let's see the cartographic skills that you have and your ability to present a story. But my particular spin on this this contest is, I call it a spatial enablement contest. So I'm trying to get our GIS staff excited about presenting, yes, a map, but at the same time, they have to connect a story to the spatial enablement that they have created for an organization. In other words, it's that act of orchestrating spatial data, visualization, analysis, and communication, and putting GIS tools in the hands of people that would not otherwise know what GIS, how it was spelled, and what it stood for. And that's really the spatial enablement that I'm trying to promote in this contest. That, you may be familiar with the fact I did a GIS ROI contest at Utah DNR. I did that for a couple of years, and it was good, and things got done. People got used to that one-page ROI spreadsheet. But then I stopped with the idea that I thought maybe there was some intrinsic value that people could appreciate that could bring to them. But really, it just kind of really cut out the response in years after the contest was over, which is unfortunate. So I'm trying to re-spark that by saying, hey, you don't have to do an ROI form for this spatial enablement poster, but you do have to tell me what the business impact was. And I don't know how else they might choose to otherwise articulate what that value is or quantify what it is. But if they're not using the ROI spreadsheet in the background to give them the information that they need to be compelling, they're just going to struggle a little bit more than most. So I've tried to do, a little bit of a refresh on the ROI contest by bringing in a mapping component. We'll see where that goes, but I'm happy to share the results with you at a later time. But those are my two leadership-oriented actions that I'm attempting to implement here.
Nice. Yeah, just hearing you speak about that, Wade, a lot of the taking action there is just being innovative and thinking out of the box in order to move that needle, and you definitely are someone who's doing that in the industry.
Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right, so I'll be the last person here. So some of the taking action moments that I've had in my career, there's two of them really. And, the first one is early in my career as a technician, you're supposed to stick to, doing all the editing, doing the simple mapping and all those types of processes that the early techs are supposed to do. But the thing is that one action that I took was not just doing the work, but understanding the work, understanding the business process, understanding the department that's coming to you. What is it that they do? Why is this information helpful? Because the more you learn about the business unit, the better you're going to be able to serve them, because you'll be able to answer their questions before they have the questions. You'll have those answers and they'll be like, wow, I never even thought of that. That's great. The map or the application solves what they already are looking for. So you're proactive and giving them information that they need. The second thing that I feel has been, not really a point in time, but more over a career, which is getting involved in the community, the GIS community in specific, because it's really served me well. I've been involved in GIS for 26 years, and from day one, I got involved into the Esri user groups, and then got involved in ERISA, and got involved in GITA. Get into those organizations, get into those associations, get in there and start networking, because you want to be around people that know more than you. That's where you're going to make your most progress, is learning from people that have already gone through the trenches, and you're going to learn from them. By being involved in those communities, you're not only just taking in information from everybody and networking and understanding, who's who and what people are accomplishing, but also contribute. Just because, you haven't rolled out this giant enterprise application, but maybe you've made a map that, displayed something about, pet adoptions, that's still interesting stuff. Present it, because somewhere someone is going to relate to that. And it also shows that you're proactive and that you're interested in the community and you're looking to be an active member. And so, if you look at anyone in those organizations, show me one of them that isn't successful. Is there an unsuccessful GIS professional that goes to any of those meetups, any of those conferences? I don't see any. Those are all people that are proactive and actually, take an initiative to improve themselves, to improve the community, and that shows forth, with everyone that's there, and then they see you as being, you know, an active and an important member of that professional community. So, you know, I've seen lonely students, you know, that are in college that know nobody that come to these meetups and user groups. I've seen adults doing career changes that have no idea about GIS, but they've heard about it and they go to these user group meetings, and in time they're swept up by, you know, some of the main GIS companies locally, because they're eager to learn and they're eager to be out there, and those are the companies, you know, those are the type of people that the companies are looking for. And so, you know, get out there, get involved, and it'll do yourself some good. I've mentioned this in one of my blogs some time ago, but the more you're involved in the community, every interview that I've gone to, I've known at least half the panel, you know, that's interviewing me. And think of the advantages that you have when half the panel there already knows you and already knows the type of work and type of ethic and everything that you put into GIS. You're going to have a massive leg up on the competition. May not guarantee you the job, but at least, you know, you get a leg up. It gives you that recognition and allows you to just get that much closer to your dream job. So that's been huge for me. And so I just want to share that to everybody, that those are my two taking action moments that have happened at one point in time and over a series of time that really made a major impact in my GIS career. So that's what I have.
Hey, Toby, that's
Yes,
good.
sir.
That's good stuff. We've got a couple of questions. You think the panel can field a couple? You got 5 minutes left?
Sure.
This one's from Depali. What are some of the tools? Actually, this is geared toward Trisha, but this may be a good panel question. What are some tools that we've used or you've used to pull the team up and out? Team assessments, showcase achievements. Why don't you share some of those examples?
I will echo Brandi. Probably one of the most best thing we've ever done here, I've ever done, is team building. We've done anything from canoeing to, we just did fencing, and we actually went sporting clay shooting. And the one person that you would think would not be the best clay shot actually was the best, and it surprises everybody. But what team building does, at least in my experience, it shows different strengths that others have that you never realized they had in your day-to-day work. The other thing I do, which sounds very minimal, but every team meeting I have appreciation. And the appreciation is not only from myself, but it's from every team player. So I say my appreciations first. It could be help with a customer. It could be someone, you know, rocked out some data, and then I tell my team, I'm like, okay, who else has appreciation? And then they start appreciating each other. And so that, to be honest, that was just something I did. I didn't know to do that. I did that in the very beginning. And then probably the third thing I will say is celebrate the small things. I know when I was at another place, my first place, I did GIS in Miami County, Kansas. We got the Mexican hat out, put it down on the floor, and danced the Mexican danced around it to celebrate getting the parcel layer completed. So celebrate all of your accomplishments, big and small.
Yeah, I agree. We actually, when I first got promoted to the GIS Supervisor years ago, the first thing we did, because morale was so low, we did some team building, and I bought a puzzle of, you know, the world, and we would all take a few minutes and sit and chat and have coffee and put this puzzle together. And, you know, it wasn't much. We did a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, just for about 10 minutes. And it was great. I mean, it really got everybody kind of talking to each other, where, you know, before there were resentments and things like that, it loosened everyone up. It was a real success, and it's just something simple like putting together a puzzle. And I didn't even have to put alcohol in their coffee.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Also, GIS lunch, just do lunch. We've tried every barbecue place in the metro area. That was a goal, and we're going to do a story map, we think, and grade them and kind of take pictures of the food. And it doesn't have to cost a lot of money. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, Toby, we've got one more question here. I think this would be maybe a good way to wrap this up from Esther. She'd like to know more about what you're seeing for what are we seeing for new GIS professionals getting into their new career?
What are we seeing as far as in which perspective?
Well, like, I mean, what are opportunities? What are, what advice, I guess, can we give to the new GIS professional?
Get it, like I was saying, get involved in the user community. I mean, that's been any intern that I've talked to, that I've always had, I said, get involved in the community, get into the user group, because that's where you're going to find out, who's hiring and who's doing some great things, and learning GIS from a different perspective from where you're at, because, school's going to teach you in one way, but in reality, GIS is another way, and so exposing yourself to multiple facets of GIS will definitely help you in your GIS career.
Yeah, I would just add that being technical is great, and that's obviously what I'm looking for. But I can teach technical, I can't teach personality. So I'm definitely looking for people who know how to communicate, positive people, team players, self-motivated, all of those things that you want. And if you're maybe not the best, most strongest technical, I can live with that. I'd rather someone that we can train them that way. So personality.
I have something to add. If you're looking for a GIS job, don't be afraid to take an unpaid internship. It keeps your skills up. Also, it shows that you're really hungry for it. And we have had several unpaid interns, and one works at NASA now. But he was able to, he was a career change. He completely changed everything he was doing at 35. And he came to me and asked if he could intern, and I was like, of course, I love free help. And we just allowed him like an hour at the end of the day to look for jobs. He was unpaid, so and he had access to all of our online learning. So don't be afraid to take an internship. He was here maybe 3 months, and then he was out the door. He got a job at NASA, and he loves it. So take chances.
I think from my perspective, I could see that new GIS professionals coming in to the field. I think some of the biggest impact is somebody who can appreciate mobile applications and being able to take the tool sets that are available to most organizations and creating a brand new workflow, improving a workflow. That's really what spatial enablement is kind of all about, and you can make some really big organizational impacts if you can come to the table fully understanding and appreciating that whole concept of data collection in the field and taking organizational information out into the field so better decisions can be made. The second item would be drones and GIS integration with drone collected data. That's going to be a real niche market into the future. So I think there's a lot of potential there. And, anybody that can come in with a business awareness, that the fact that they're curious about business, but they have an understanding about what business improvement, performance improvement is all about, and appreciating that they can go and learn the technical software or theoretical GIS science, but if they don't get their heads wrapped around performance improvement, they're going to be missing a large target for which their career will have them pointing at, ideally pointed at, and they'd be better off if they can fully wrap their heads around the way in which GIS helps businesses perform better. That's my observation.
Awesome. Well, everybody, we have hit our hour mark, and I really want to thank every one of you that showed up and gave your
Hey, Toby,
action moments. Yes.
there's a question down in the QA.
We could probably answer that in the show notes.
Yeah, we can do that. And also we can answer that in Slack as well. So if you go to our Slack, we'll definitely answer some more questions. So we want to be cognizant of everyone's time because, you know, you guys are doing this out of your generosity. And I really appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Thank you for the support, and thank you for the anniversary wishes. And I love doing this for you guys. And, you know, we will definitely be here next month with another topic. If there's something of interest to you, definitely let us know, either through Slack or through email or through Twitter or through LinkedIn. You know, we're everywhere. So just let us know, because we definitely want to address the issues that affect you. So thank you, everybody. This will be on YouTube in a couple of days or so, so you can do the replay, and I'll also post the chat in Slack as well, so you can see the Slack messages. So thank you, everyone. Take care and have a good day.
Happy birthday.
Take action.
Yeah.